กลับเข้าสู่ช่วงที่ 2 ของรายการ Money Forum ค่ะการดำเนินธุรกิจไม่ว่าจะวิธีใดก็ตามผู้ประกอบการควรที่จะทำความเข้าใจนะคะว่าลักษณะเศรษฐกิจแบบใดถึงจะเอื้อต่อการ M&A และเศรษฐกิจแบบไหนนะคะที่จะเหมาะสมที่แท้จริงในแง่ของการลงทุนซื้อรวมไปถึงควบรวมกิจการในต่างประเทศและช่วงนี้มีเคสตัวอย่างที่ทาง TMB นั้นได้เข้าไปช่วยดำเนินการและประสบความสำเร็จให้ผู้ประกอบการขนาดกลางนั้นได้ศึกษากันเป็นรายเคสกันด้วยไปติดตามกันเลยค่ะ
Thank you. Let me come. Already hear from the advisors. Let me come to the decision maker a little bit on your case, right? Well, what do you see as the most important success factors, apart from being in line with the strategy? In anything in terms of execution that you think very important for consideration?
I think strategy is an easy word to say. In fact, I don't really know my strategy as well. I don't know whether all of you know your strategy. We have a dream, you know. Everybody say you have a dream, you chase your dream, never give up your dream. That's also the right philosophy, you know. I'm in the car industry. Yeah, I've never done any other business. People say you are too focused. Yeah? And say more than 10 years ago, there was a big property boom. They say, why don't you do property? You're losing money doing car business. But I continue. When the industry became good, they say you're very smart. Yeah? Is there smart or stupid people? Because we don't know where else to go. So strategy is something really very difficult. I really don't know clearly whether my strategy is right or it is wrong. But make a best guess, putting all the parameters together. So my best guess is, now I'm producing parts for global companies, they can take my business away. When I first came to Thailand, on my left, I have Kun Somchai. On my right, I have Kun Anand, yeah, in a meeting for the auto suppliers. Today, when I go for the same meeting, on my left is Suzuki, on my right is Tanada, and there's very few Thai company left. We could be one of the victims of losing our business as well. So the first thought strikes you. Yeah? Once you lose your business, you lose your people, and they have to be retrenched, and they lose their jobs, which is happening quite often to globalization. So with that thought, we think we must do something. Yeah? And in this industry, we have friends, we have contacts, you know. Sometimes you want to go into a country you're not sure, and you must find somebody. So I think there's sometimes we pray to God, we tambun. We hope that we meet the right partner. I'm not a religious person, but I begin to believe that your intention is good. I want to sustain my company. I want to get employers to every employee. When I acquire a company, I never retrench because Thai people need job, or even in other countries they need job. So I think the emotional part of a business is important. Don't think of the financial part alone. Yeah? A strategy is to be global, but the emotional part is important because when I went to China, when I went to see a factory, government was selling, this farm is a farmer's factory. The farmers say, I have no more job now. Please support us, give us money. It's a farmer's factory. But my grandfather was from China. I say, if I put some money there, if the company gone bankrupt, I've done my CSR in China. But this company made money for every year except last 2 years. It continues to make money now. So make money for more than 10 years. Not much money, but it's a plus. So I think the emotional quotient is important. If you look at business as business alone, I think it is quite, sometimes error. You may make the best decision, but the result may not be correct. So I think this part of it is important. Like, for example, our vision of my company is lean and happy company, not a profitable company. There's nothing in our vision to be profitable. Everybody must be happy, and everybody must try to save as much as they can. So, this is an example of, I think, the emotional quotient is important in strategy is too difficult sometimes, to really make it work along the way.
Thank you. Yes, I am head strategy myself. Not sure what that does. True. But I do my job every day. Let me just remind you that we will have a Q&A session in the panel as well towards the end. So feel free to write down the questions that you want more specific answer to any of our panelists here, and pass the paper to any of our staffs, and we will take up those questions towards the end. Let's get legally specific. We'll come to Kun Chinapat a little bit, but just while we're at Kun Yip, any legal or tax concern? You know, when companies go abroad, they go through all those cycles, and eventually they come to that barrier that, a lot of legal and tax issue.
Frankly, I don't understand all the legal and tax issues.
Okay.
Until today, I still don't understand. I leave it to the experts, actually, yeah, because some of the legal issues are so strange. The normal brain rationalize, but the reality is totally different. So I think that part I don't understand, frankly. You know? So the experts have to guide us through.
Okay. With that, let me come to Kun Chinapat to help us wrap our head around the possible legal issues that we may face during M&A.
Okay. When you will expand your business to offshore, the first thing is to how much that you can invest, or how much that you can own shares. For example, you can own shares totally 100%, or just the in Indonesia. If you are the importer, you can own shares in the importing company in Indonesia, 100% shares. But if you do the distribution in Indonesia, foreigner cannot own shares over 1/3 or 34%, something like that. Then this is a legal barrier that you should have concern, or you should do something like a joint venture, and you negotiate with your partner in Indonesia or offshore how to conclude this solution in terms of the shareholding. Right. Yes. Another one is to, when you invest your business to offshore, and how to bring your capital or your profit back to Thailand, or just leave it offshore. No need to bring it back. Right. Why? Because if you bring it back, Thai tax implication, and then you have to pay Thai tax, unless you go to the special channel of tax incentive. For example, you know CK Power, the company under the Shaw Kan Chang.
Right.
CKP set up the in Thailand and listed in the stock market, and then bring the fund from capital market in Thailand to own shares in Lao PDR, in the operating company in Lao PDR. Or another case, Amata VN, the subsidiary of Amata Group. Amata Group set up the Amata VN in Thailand, and then listed in the stock market like a holding company, and then raise fund from the capital market in Thailand to invest in the operating company in Vietnam to operate the Bien Way Industrial Estate, something like that. This is the how to bring it back. When Amata VN received the offshore dividend and CKP received offshore dividend, no tax in Thailand, because they go to the special channel of tax incentive.
I see.
Tax exemption on the offshore dividend. This is the same case of ECHO, Radbury, ACG, or PTT. This is legal and tax, for example. Right.
Right.
Yep.
What is the biggest legal challenge that you have faced in terms of helping a company doing a deal abroad in cross-border?
Go back to Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett said, improper assessment.
Improper assessment.
Improper assessment, due diligence. You do, or you have done the wrong due diligence.
Okay.
For the offshore M&A, the first thing is legal, finance, and tax due diligence. How to find out the exposure that you cannot file. Go back to Kun Yong Yut.
Right.
Inside information, not insider trading, right? Inside information. Inside information. How to dig out the hiding information or exposure that you cannot identify it. Just identify it, and then quantify the risk in terms of amount. How to quantify, and then if you can rectify, okay, you negotiate. But if you cannot rectify it, just break it out. The deal breaker come from rectification.
I see. I see.
Yes, and if you can negotiate, just use the exposure that you can find out from the due diligence to be discounted. discount. Could Yep he may have the experience to discount, right? by use the exposure from due diligence report, right? Okay, you see how to do the due diligence. This is my map.
Yeah, let's not go through this in detail.
No. Now, just to let all of us get the idea, not only legal, tax, and finance, it includes commercial, operation, marketing, branding, something like that. This my map, I bring from only one book, more than 300 pages, and then bring in one my map in 1 pages of my map. Right, this is the due diligence, right? Okay. Okay, this is not sure whether this round because this is the case study.
Okay, so it's one of the case studies that you have. Let me ask you this. You did say, I think very clearly, and I think all of us agree in terms of doing a proper due diligence. If there is one word of advice that you could give to us in terms of ensuring that proper due diligence, what would it be? Having a great team or having a great relationship with?
Okay, start with dream, right? Not strategy. As Kun Yep mentioned, dream. In case of improper assessment, by legal mechanism, you can use the sale and purchase agreement and identify the indemnity or put some sales proceed in the escrow account subject to the indemnification process or period. You may not pay now 100% of the sales proceeds when you acquire the business of the target, but you can pay something like that, 60%, and the rest will be booked under the escrow account and go back to the bank. If TFB or ING, you have the escrow agent service, yes, in Thailand or offshore, you can do that, right? Yeah.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Let me come to Kun Yongyut a little bit. In terms of that concern, Jan Chinapat share with us a bit on legal and the tax implication that we could have. Any other concerns? For example, financial due diligence. Is that a concern of yours when going to M&A deals?
I think there's a my team try to list all operating about the consideration to do M&As. Normal that we go on tax, we go to strategies, we go to financings that which can we find a good financing, can we have to less equity finance, and then have to, if we want to less equity from the market, how we do. This is all technical support to use for the banks and also legal accountings. But one that most of people don't know is about the accountings. When you do M&A, even though you acquire 100% of the target, you think that you may console 100% of profit of the target to our company, but it really not. The profit that you console is not. Supposedly you acquire the company that have net profit of 1 million baht. When you console this and you acquired it 100%, sometime you got only 60. Why it's happened? I hate to say that. I hate accountant. I hate accounting. Because they do the PPA, purchasing price allocation. And then when do the purchasing price allocation, they assign the asset in the new value as mimic our value of acquisition. What does it mean? It means that the asset price will increase and then deplete it at the higher rate, at the same rate, but the higher amount. So even though I acquired the company that 100 million baht profit, after they deduct the new depreciation, we're going to console only 60. We lose. So the thing that we have a problem on this is, don't optimistic about M&A. Come to talk and discuss with the accounting. And then you will realize that some acquisition may be less profitable than you think because of the PPA. This is the thing that many companies have made a mistake on it. Another thing that I think that we have to concern is about the IR, investment relationship. Even though we land a good deal, but in the first day that we announce, the share price will go down. We don't happy. Even though we know it's a good deal, Why it happened? Maybe it happened because of the confusion of the market. What we do? So before and now the deals come to the IR team, prepare for this thing and explain the market to understand our philosophy, understand our deal, and then let market make itself to reflect our value. So, but it's not smart that if we let the market understand by themselves without signal format. So for my understanding and for my experience, after do the good M&A deals, comes and discuss with the IR team tools. This is all that I think that's important. Other than that, I think that's about the financings. Because of after you do the big financing of the M&A, you have to discuss about the bank and talk with the bank about the repayment schedule, or about the reprofile of the debt, about the financial situation after the acquisition. This is all the thing that you have done. You have to done after the M&A. So Mike, you can have anything that you have to about the M&As.
Yes, let's come to INT on that. In case you have seen other common issue, for example, funding that might be an issue for M&A deal, or other areas that you might see that Kun Yong you already described. Feel free to share with us.
I just want to add in terms of funding, you know, what we've observed.
Right.
A lot of our transactions in the market is that the abundance of liquidity have helped. So the availability of financing has rarely been an issue for acquirers, for M&A transactions. However, as years have gone by, the technology for acquisition financing has also developed. So for larger size transactions or certain transactions that that you can leverage on the cash flows of the target company, as my colleague here mentioned, use the cash flows of the target companies. So where possible, you would employ techniques to raise non-recourse financing that would alleviate the pressure on your balance sheet, as well as enhance your returns, and will make you a lot more competitive in your negotiations and pricing of the deal.
Okay, let me stay a little bit with INT in that if you notice, the audience, that we have been through identifying opportunities through the process. Now, let's say once we go through the deal, went through, is there anything we need to do in the post-transaction period? What's the most important factor to ensure that this deal is not only a financial deal, but it actually makes a business sense going forward?
I think I would go back to the first principles, right? Do the deal for the right reason, then you won't have regrets. Yeah. During the deal, do the right level of preparation, so the due diligence, the structuring, and the work to identify the partners. But in terms of like post-transaction, obviously there are many issues you have got to think about, because things may not pan out the way you intended it to be. Integration, right? When it involves people, you just cannot predict with certainty the reactions of the people that come with the acquisition. Right? Changes in market, changes in terms of your partners, you know, in terms of the cultural expectations, the relationships. Why it matters? Because it does impinge on the fundamentals of the deal itself. For example, you do a deal expecting the company to be fully funded. But after year one, the company goes for a cash call. What happens, right? You told your board that the company is fully funded. Right. Fine, you can go back for more money. But it puts you in a position of difficulty where you're saying, look, I've got to come out with the money, otherwise I will get diluted. And when you get diluted, what happens? The shareholders' agreements gets affected. what happens to your governance rights, your voting rights? So there are a host of issues, especially the unanticipated issues that would come. So the preparation is really key, and just to focus on what happens, unplanned items, then you'll be fine.
Kun Yongyut, any things on your side?
Yes, yes, I very right is the slide that prepared by NG a lot. Because of from my opinion, the integration plan is the key success. If we acquire the company and we cannot integrate it, it's a problem. Because of when we cannot integrate it in the proper way, we cannot realize the synergy. Most the thing that we always said and we always claim that we buy the company because of we want synergy. And the synergy will not happen if we have not have a good integration plan. So I think that all in all, integration plan is a key success for post-transaction, and it will affect about the debt repayment. Organizer will have to affect to rely on the integration plan and also investor expectation. For me, in the triangle above, it's most important for me. And the key thing is integration plan. If we cannot do the good integration plan, we will have a problem with our problem. Actually, especially when we take 100% or take majorities of the company. This is my opinion.
Yes. And could you give your view on the post-transaction integrating two companies, three companies together? You have had experience through that. Huh?
Before I say this, I just go back to the last question you raised from an experience I have. I think when you acquire a company, no matter what due diligence you do, the most important is the integrity of the owner.
Integrity of owner.
If you think the integrity of owner is not exist, no matter what due diligence you do, you may not be able to find out everything. My company has sat still for 6 years because of one acquisition in Thailand. Yeah, because sometimes the connections in Thailand is very powerful, depending where you buy your company from. So if you don't have the right connections, yeah, you may have paid your money, but you may be the loser at the end. Yeah, so just a comment. For me, I think depends on whether it's a majority acquisition or minority. So I think it's it is important. With majority, I think finally the integration will set in place because you can call the shots. But if it is a minority, you're 49% or you're 48%, then the effort to integrate is much bigger. Like in our case, if you're a minority, then we have to be very sensitive to your partner. Yeah. So the integration process is very personal. Yeah, personal relationships. And your team working with you has to also have the same mentality. Doesn't mean that you pay money into a company, you can go in and do whatever you want, So I think the effort by the key personnel must reflect the intention to work together. Having dinners together, yeah, respecting timetables, having fixed meetings, and having very simple, basic reports so that there is clarity and transparency. I repeat again, it's the character of the owner or the head of the company. If his character is to be transparent, if his character is to welcome you, I think the post-integration will work. But if his intention is to welcome you just for the money and it doesn't need you anywhere, no matter how you try, your post-integration will fail. So I think, therefore, the intention from the start must be established, and how you establish that is through your personal relationships, I think, and your knowledge of people.
Okay, thank you, Krap Kun Yip. Let me come to the audience. We have some time for Q&A. Let me remind you that you can write your questions on pieces of paper, raise your hand, and our energetic staff will actually get those papers for you and get the questions to us. On the stage, let me continue with some of the questions that we were still discussing. On Kun Chinapat, let me ask you a little bit the same questions in the post-transaction. We've gone through the due diligence and executions. In your view, what are some hurdles whether in tax, in legal, or other areas that you have run into that might pose as a problem after the transaction is complete?
Right. Okay. It depends on how much that you acquire the shares. For example,
Yes.
You acquire 100% shares, or just leave it 30 or 20. The numbers isn't magic numbers. When you acquire the shares, should not less than 75%. You acquire more. Don't acquire 100% shares, because don't let them go. Just keep it, keep it a little bit for them to retain some benefit at the target company. For example, 15%, 20%, and then after acquisition, the share price would be increased the value. This is the example. And then when you do the sale and purchase agreement, another one should be shareholders agreement. And then under the shareholders agreement, we should mention the buyback of the shares with a specified price of shares. For example, after 3 years, after 3 years of acquisition, non-competition, non-solicitation, non-disclosure, and then buy back the shares as all, okay? In terms of the corporate structure, after acquisition, you should have revised the articles of association, the board of directors. In terms of labor and staff, you may do something to lay off. And if the target company under the labor union, this is a big problem for labor union, not in Asia, but in Europe and in the US, for labor union, including Australia, right? Right. And after acquisition, you should have review the commercial contracts that the target company already done before. Any pros and cons that you have to revise or renew the contract, right?
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I see. Thank you. On the floor, do we have any questions coming in? If not, I have very difficult questions for our panelists to end the day today. M&A. Well, we talk on the optimistic side all this morning, but M&A takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of energies, and takes a lot of focus. And of course, there will be failure in the past. So I would like us to take a look at those, think about those common failures a little bit, and share with us what are some common failures or the missteps that companies have taken, and what are some measures that they can take to mitigate that. If I may, can I start with the TMB? I can start with TMB and then to ING, and also get Khun Yip's view as well.
Yes. For me, I think there's many things. There's more than 50% of the M&A fails. Everyone knows. It's a public information, and it's a review on the research, more than 50s. What is the key thing for me? I still forgot that. I think the first thing is wrong direction. Normally, when we do M&A with not a good one, we not match with the strategy, normally it should be a poor one, because it's difficult to understand that. Especially when we go outside our homes. If it's far away from our home, it's difficult. It's the more difficult. So the thing that if that not met with our strategy, it's difficult. And then this is come to be about the diligence that have not problems. Also that we overstate the synergy. We have meet a lot that we said that it should have a synergy around this. It should huge. But when we integrate it, it found that it's lower a lot from the expectation. Also that we have the poor protection about in the contract that protects about the downsides. This is all the common things that always happens. No, Mike, do you have? I'll give you.
Yeah. I think the common failures come down to principally two areas. One is communication and chemistry, and I echo what Khun Yip said about knowing who your counterparty is, whether it's a partner or you're buying a business from a seller. In terms of communication, transparency is extremely important. M&A processes are long. They can get emotional. They have, they're bound with unexpected surprises. Understanding the expectations from both sides and clearly communicating when challenges arise is critical. And in order to communicate, it's having that familiarity and comfort and trust with the other side that you can get through problems. And there are a number of ways that you can address challenges. If you find issues in due diligence, there are remedies you can take. There might be price reductions. There might be remedies through the legal documentation, but that trust and communication can't be replaced. And we always encourage our clients to not to underestimate the power of face-to-face time.
I see. And on Kun Yip's
I think to add on Kun Michael or Kun Yong Yut's point, for a Thai company, when we do an M&A, our biggest problem is people. When we do an M&A in China, very few Thai people speak Mandarin. So how do you communicate? Number one. Number two, Thai people don't like to go to China to stay for a long time. So you may be a Thai company, but run by foreigners. You may have to bring some Taiwanese or some Singaporeans or some Malaysians. So that is an issue. Or you have an M&A in India. The Thai can only enjoy the food for 2 days. After the third day, they have to have the cup noodle. So they cannot stay on cup noodle forever. So they will not stay in India. So I think these are the real challenges for Thai companies to do acquisitions like that. And also if it's further on in other countries, it is even more challenging. For a company of our size, it's the lack of resources. Not like ING, they have mountains of professional, very highly qualified. They can work anywhere in the world. I think this is one of the challenges we are facing. The use of English, communication. So we have to grow through all this. I think this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is our difficulty in making mergers and acquisitions, whether in China or India or even in Indonesia, for example. Even in Malaysia, for example. I have Thai friends who work in Malaysia for 1 year. They say they don't like to stay in Malaysia. Some people say Malaysia is a wonderful country, but Thailand is more wonderful than Malaysia in terms of total, total perspective, So how to get Thai people to support mergers and acquisitions is a big challenge because it's a Thai company. They want to see a Thai face. They want the CEO to be Thai, but the CEO doesn't want to stay in that country. He wants to come back to Thailand. So this is one of our challenges.
Okay. Could you get
I think there's please come to the page number 22. For the one who do a lot of M&A, I don't think that's this is much, not give you a wow formation for the one who want to decide to do the cross-border M&A. I think this the key theme is about that. The wrong horizontal line is that you have to have a clear strategy. This is a good strategic move for you. And then you have to think about the transaction structure. The structure is important. How many percent that you have to hold? How the structure that you have to pay? You pay in convertible, you pay in stock, and then how you file the financial supporting. And then the P and post capital structure is also important. If you acquire some company, and then the branches agree after that. So it means that the right to hire, so it's a problem. For me, think first on this side before do the M&A. If it's small, think on the bad side. If it's too small, you may lose the good year. But if it's big, and then you imagine that if it's the poor acquisition, what happened to your balance sheet? What happened to your bank? You can pay the bank. If it can, and we can turn it back within 3 or 4 years, and it's the right strategy, let's do it. Just Kun Yep have already passed that. Although we have the poor acquisition, but one day we can turn it back because of we have the financial strength that's strong enough. We cannot guarantee 100% sure that we do the good acquisition. But one point in time that if we do the poor decision, we can turn it back within a certain period of times. That is all that I want to share that. The cost of losing the good opportunity always higher, always expensive than the cost of do the poor transition, poor acquisition for me.
Okay. Thank you. We have a question from the floor to Kun Yip. Going through these M&As, how do you protect the downside risk of your company, Apico?
I think the first thing is what Kun Yok Good is say, you must make sure you have enough money. No money, no power. Once there's no more money, the ship stops. And then there's big headache. So I think that part has to be protected. Next will be how you manage the company. As I say, resources. Like when I took over the company in China, my Thai friends say you must be 100%, best financial advisor. So we took 100%. You know, the government has to arrange so they get 100%. Then how do you manage Chinese company? It's old-fashioned and all that, you know, old company, you know, it's farmhouse, you know, the mentality is quite different. So I can speak Mandarin, but I cannot read. So how do I look at the company? Fortunately, my wife reads Mandarin and reads, you know, and speaks Mandarin. So fortunately, she has to stay in China for 3 months. If I don't have a wife that can read Mandarin, I think we are in trouble. None of my Thai people can read Mandarin. Yeah? The first day we arrived, the staff say, Mr. Yap, you have been cheated. Of course, there's some cheating, a small company, you know. But, you know, my wife stayed for 3 months, understand the people, she speaks Mandarin. So build up relationship with the people. We took 100%, you know, some very unprofessional people, they are farmers. So slowly we add people. Until today, we have built a new factory in China. Yeah, we didn't lose money in the first few years, although they say you have been cheated. The managers say, we have all the good managers left the company. You left all the farmers. Yeah, it was emotional when I started. So I think that you must have the people who can manage the business. Yeah. So if you go to India, fortunately, if you go to India, Thai people going to India is not too bad. Isan people eat with their hands. They use chopsticks. So I think Thai people can go to India because some of them eat with their hands. They have the same culture. When I go to India, I eat with my hands because my partner eat with my hands side by side. Yeah? And I think some of you know you must always eat with your right hand, not with your left hand. So a little culture like that. So if you can eat with your hands with your Indian partner, you can use chopsticks with your Chinese partner. I think that's the advantage of Thai people. You can use chopsticks and can eat with your hands. So maybe it's good for you to invest in China and India as a first start, or Malaysia for that matter.
I just
Go
have
ahead,
something
Mike.
to add.
Yes.
And one thing that we often do with our clients when we're looking at risk is you expect a certain outcome, but what happens if that outcome doesn't happen? And you know, you're expecting in an acquisition to grow the business by 10%, but what if it grows by 2%? What if it doesn't grow at all? And that's where due diligence and these questions are important in M&A processes. And the due diligence and the numbers are simply numbers, but what they're useful for is allows you to make a decision. Can you live with that risk? And it's important that you assess the business in a number of different scenarios in order to ultimately make the decision, can I live with that and can I proceed with the deal?
Okay, so rather than relying on just one path projection, do a few scenarios and see whether you can live with different scenarios that could turn out from the transaction that will happen. Okay. I have one more question that goes to Kun Yong Yut, and then I'll have say 1 minute closing for each of you as a key takeaway for today's. Kun Yong Yut, say the audience is very pumped up now. They listen to the presentation today and they feel like, yeah, let's go explore M&A. What would be the first step that you would recommend they take? Come talk to you, or what should be the first step for our customers?
Difficult for me to answer this because of what the first step from my opinion is looking into our balance sheet, looking inside our company. That is, we prepare to accept the M&A or not, and if the downside happen, how we can solve it, and then come back to a strategic thinking that this is good for the strategic for the company. If it's the right one, then you can find you don't have to do everything in the same time. So you can find the advisors, you can find the tax, you can find the legal, and also you can find us as an advisor to help you on the area that you don't want to, or you're not expert on this. You can find many experts here in around Thailand to do the M&A. I persuade you to go abroad, but because of that, we need it for the Thai medium cap to go abroad. To sustain our growth on the medium cap, we need it for the cross-border for me.
Okay. Yes, anything to add on the first step?
For me, not first step, but you think for the final step.
Uh-huh.
The final step, when you will start thinking about the M&A, please consider how to exit. How to exit.
So have an exit option, basically.
Yes, yes, yes. It means that when you invest for the target company for 10 years, how to exit. The smart exit should be considered carefully. Like, Big C last year, exit the business. By Casino Group, exit the business of Big C in Thailand. And then sell all the shares to Thai Bev Group of Kunjaran. Right.
I see. Okay.
Smart exit.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Anything to add to that?
Well, just a comment that's specific to joint ventures, because if you were to go out outside of Thailand, in most likelihood, you may well seek a joint venture partner in a country you're not familiar with. Yes, you will do your due diligence, all the agreements, then you come to negotiate your share purchase agreement and shareholders agreement. I would always emphasize, right, in the share purchase agreement and the price, if you overpay, it's only money. But in the shareholders agreement, if you don't get it right, it lives with you for 20 years or more. So I think, you need to spend your time depending on the gravity of the issues of concern. One more point. If the business is going well, nobody will look at the shareholders agreement. It's only when things go wrong that people take it out and look. So bear that in mind.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. The key takeaway, may I start with the INT? Mike, would you have a key takeaway for us today on how to go about, how to go out of this room thinking about M&As and explore opportunities? And I will go to Kun Yut and close with Kun Yip.
Sure, just a couple of final comments. The first question that I would ask myself if I were to embark on M&A as an owner is why? The M&A road is bumpy, it's long, and having a robust plan is important. Putting the right people and resources to surround you in an M&A process is also important. When you buy a house, you may have a real estate agent, you may have a plumber, you may have a contractor. It's similar in M&A, putting the right people around you to address issues and to make decisions. And finally, it's taking the time to ask questions, to be curious, to diligence, which again factor into decision-making process.
Thank you.
Maybe in my summary, I just want to say, look at character and competence, of your partner. And I think the other very important aspect is depend on how much energy you have. If you have plenty of energy, you can buy a company that's not so well organized. And you have to put plenty of effort to turn it around, and it could be a little bit cheaper. Another aspect is look at a good company, pay a little bit more, and you have less headaches because it comes with a team of excellent executives. So I think this is important. If you have lack of resources, only go for a company that's well organized and everything is well managed. So you don't have to put resources too much to manage it. I think mergers, acquisitions is like what you have done in your young lives. All of you have got a wife. When you marry a lady, you do a due diligence. And then hopefully you don't marry another lady. So I think, the same thing in business. If you look at the due diligence, you do it properly, you make sure every wife that you marry is a good wife. I think you have done it since you're a young man. So I think that philosophy must always be there. Love, things like that, Thambun, CSR, communication. I think we are human beings. If there's no love, there's no communication, I think then business will not work.
Could you give any final key thoughts on today's session?
I think this, I already said a lot, but I think there's a key theme of me is about that. All about the M&A, especially the cross-border, it's about the strategies. It's you have to acquire the right one that match with your core competence. And also, please think about the downside. When it happens, if it is the bad one, and can we accept it? Can we return the company back? If it cannot, if it can, if cannot, don't do it. If it can, let go to the process. Let's do it because of we may lose up the good opportunity. We don't do it.
Okay. Well, thank you, all the panelists today. I think we had a very good session and many wise words also from Kun Yip. Thank you so much. I will also spend time revisiting my due diligence with my wife, see if that went well. But of course, I think it's a strong analogy to think of the future partnership of business, something that's very akin to our livelihood. So please put your hands together for Kun Yip, President and CEO of Apico, for sharing his view. For Mike and TK from ING Asia for sharing their experience in the region and global. Kun Chinatip from SCL Law Company for sharing his view on the legal process, and Kun Yong Yut from TMB. Okay. So let me pass back the stage.
ถือเป็นความร่วมมือที่ดีนะคะระหว่าง TMB และ ING Banking Asia ซึ่ง TMB ก็มีทีมวานิธนกิจที่มีความเชี่ยวชาญเข้าใจถึงจุดประสงค์ของลูกค้าในประเทศไทยได้เป็นอย่างดีในขณะที่ ING Banking Asia ก็มีความเชี่ยวชาญและมีเครือข่ายครอบคลุมทั่วโลกในการสนับสนุนผู้ประกอบการขนาดกลางในบ้านเราให้มีโอกาสในการขยายธุรกิจด้วยการลงทุนซื้อหรือควบรวมกิจการในต่างประเทศเพื่อที่จะสามารถทำให้ธุรกิจนั้นเติบโตได้อย่างยั่งยืนในอนาคตค่ะนี่คือทั้งหมดของรายการ Money Forum นะคะรายการของเราหมดเวลาลงแล้วค่ะดิฉันสรวณีพรหมเสนและทีมงานต้องขอลาไปก่อนสวัสดีค่ะ